Hi, welcome everyone to the weekly. Today, Matthew is heading to a recording studio to capture Ellie's voice. He's not going to do that himself, although that would be really fun. You know, in the next weeks, we will definitely I will definitely put out a blog post that highlights the actors that we've been working with to give a little bit of a summary of all the sound work that we have done already in preparation for the actual animation work. We are down to one actor. We're still missing the voice of Phil, but I'm working on that. So once we have that, we have all our lineup of actors recorded, which is great because it prepares us for actually moving into animation. Otherwise, the animators are wondering how are they supposed to animate acting without voices. I heard that might be a problem. That's you know, I think this week we started with more animators working on shots, and this ramps up more and more into the production schedule. And one of the scenes of the film is getting more finalized, the Rextoria scene that we've been working on in the past few weeks. And I think we can just have a round with everyone. Maybe we can start with Hjatli as usual to see if there is any update in the editorial department, and then we go alphabetic as usual.
Sure thing. Thank you, Francesco. For me, we've early this week we did some updates for Scratch. So this I think is the final version that we have for the layout. So it's mainly that kind of beginning stuff. Everybody happy, and we did a kickoff for Scratch with the animators. And not only that, we did a similar thing for Haircut. We did some updates for Haircut.
Kathy, it might be best if you just mute the audio because it comes through like distorted and we can't hear what you're saying, so it doesn't help.
You want me to start over?
That way we can hear what you're saying. I couldn't hear shit, so yeah.
That's a fair point. I didn't realize.
Yeah, it's okay.
I have no sense of what it's like on the other side. Do you want me to start over? Actually?
Yeah, just tell what you did. Yeah, please.
Okay. So at the start of the week, at the start of the week, we updated the Scratch scene. And we made a couple of variations, and we got it to the point where we felt very happy about it for the layout. We did a kickoff with the animators, so now those shots from that have been assigned from this scene, and we did the same thing for Haircut. So with the Haircut one, a couple of shots got merged, and blah blah blah. Nobody cares. Mostly, like besides all of that, the thing I have been working on is this thing here. This is the spray scene, and I'm relatively happy with it, but Matthew has not seen it yet, so we'll see what he says when he sees it. And besides that, I have already started working on the U scene. So that's kind of the thing I'm roughly kind of gauging right now and figuring out where things should be and all of that stuff. But besides all of that, I think that should be about it. So that's my week. Okay, thank you. Bye.
So this week we had a general planning meeting with Francesco where we discussed the animation planning and the handover of the set building and the rest of the departments. And for that I did, luckily we had the edit completely submitted over to Kitsu, so we have all the shots of the film in Kitsu. So I was able to do a shot rating, so to speak. So I divided it into lighting, shot dressing, and effects. So these are roughly the stages that happen after animation. And in the previous project, we've always combined them into lighting, and this is looking at it into a little more of a fine-grained model. So I rated those in A, B, C, D, and each of the rating gets a different time assigned to it. Basically, a person works for that long. And now we have some data. This is based on past projects that we've done before, so I think it's fairly accurate. Then this week I worked on some ways to speed up the lighting process. So I broke down the lighting of the film into 4 different colors that we can use for lighting, and I saved them in a separate template file. And those templates can be used in an actual shot. So it's basically just a group node. It has the lighting is separated into key, soft lighting, fill lighting, and rim lighting. And those 4 colors are the basis or the foundation of the whole lighting of the film. And those can be assigned to different lights. And it'll be much quicker because one color change propagates to all the shots. So the continuity will hopefully be much better. Then I worked on the threads for the haircut tree because the spiders actually sling down on these silk strings. And Matt had a request to how this was done. So this is basically using the same method as spider web, but for the string itself, it doesn't use curves, but it uses array modified mesh segments that follow curves, so they can be stretched arbitrarily in length. And hopefully this will either work in Alembic, but also for the animators, because they need to stretch those silks quite a long time to make the shot possible. Then I did continue lighting. So this is the first shot of Home Run that I was able to light this week. And there's not a lot of, I can't show a lot of films because the render farm hasn't been working for most of the week. But this is the one. And I was also working on, yeah, this shot in Rextoria. Of course, the hair got fixed, and now we have it with hair. Then after that, I re-rendered this shot, which is, it just needed an update because Simon actually textured the branch, which is super cool. I then worked on this shot where Victoria gets slammed into the spider web. This is actually not up to date, so I will show a still image. So it's going to be still images from now on. So this is the updated version with the shading. You can see that there's some problems with the materials here, but hopefully Jacques is up to it, fixing it. Then I lit this shot. It's this is how it looks like once it goes along. This is number 60. I lit number 70 as well, with Victoria's hair getting bitten off. Number 80, which is temporary because the animation is not done yet, but this is Rex trying to tear away Victoria. Number 90, which is Victoria in the cocoon shape. And then I also worked on this shot where the smears had to be added to the snails. So I think that is my week.
I started the week with a request to revisit Victoria and to actually take the mesh, and since the grooming was done, to take the mesh and actually match the grooming to the new, match the mesh to the grooming. So we have the before, the front view, the left side of Victoria, back view of Victoria, and the right side of Victoria. So on the after, you see that it's actually enclosed into, the grooming is actually enclosed into the mesh. So there's a more accurate boundary for the hair for the animator. On the left is the before. It did change a little bit. So you can see after that what the feedback that the animators will receive. There's just a bit more volume at the back, mostly. There was one strand of hair that went quite a bit, it was quite different at the back. And also address it was the 2 pieces of the hair mesh. It was including also the bangs. So the bangs were also adjusted as well to match the grooming. Then there's the alternate hair for Victoria, which is the shape key. That was the original shape key for the hair shrink. So with the new grooming, it was updated to match, the mesh was updated to match. So this is the new shape key. Then went back to Jay and did the hand. The sculpt is on the left. This is the without any it's the base mesh without any multi-res modifier. On the right is with the subdivision surface. top, and this is the base mesh at the bottom. There was also the spans to mark the areas where it would be the knuckles and the thumb and the joints where the fingers will bend. And the palm. So the topology is basically the same as Ellie, Rex, and Victoria, very similar in topology, so there's some consistency with the characters throughout. For the body, the head was separated. This was all one piece. So the head separated as just one piece, and the body separated as an extra, a separate piece, and the geometry underneath the clothing, hidden underneath the clothing, was deleted. There were spans that were added to the knee, following the rig, and spans also in between for the rubber hose deformation. Then went on to the jacket. So we have the sculpt on the top and the retopo at the bottom. Front view, 3/4 side view, 3/4 back, and the back view. This is the base mesh. This is without any subdivision or multi-res. So we have the base mesh sculpt on the left and the base mesh retopo on the right. You could see also on the wrist area, the elastic part was intersecting into the wrist. So what I did here is just to pull it out so that it actually fits around the wrist instead of intersecting into the wrist too much. The zippers were also finished. Here there was more of a suggestion of a zipper, and so I added an extra piece that the zipper can hang off of it. Also, you could see the strips on the jacket where it's a bit lifted here. So that's been corrected by just creating it so that it's extruded from the mesh directly without it being two separate pieces. Otherwise, you end up with the lifting. The zippers for the pockets were also added. And since the J character will be quite bendy, there was the edge loops are quite clearly defined from each piece of object, so they could bend as if they were one piece. Same thing with the front zipper strip. The chain also was just a little bit of a tweak on the sculpt. You can see this is actually the looking into the character through the clothing, so you can see how much it intersects. So basically, this is like Jay's lying on his stomach. So you can see the front of the chain intersecting. It's okay to intersect a little bit. So what I did was I just pushed this with proportional edging a little bit forward. So this is just the new silhouette right now. And that's pretty much where I left off. That's it for me.
Okay. So in the rigging department this week, I started off with making Victoria's cocoon function, which took a while, but it actually worked out nicely. So this is I don't. Is it playing? It's not playing for me.
No, it's not playing.
Oh, great. Okay, so there you go. So this is just it running extremely slowly with the render mesh that will be only used in the render. And then I also made a proxy version of that for animation that is a bit faster. And so this is just surface deform, you know, onto the spider web that is currently hidden, and Victoria's body, which is also linked in this case. So a linked version of Victoria gets overridden, stuff gets bound to that, and that gets linked into the animation file, and then overridden again, and then animated. And so far it seems to work. So that's really nice. So that's that. And then I figured out the tech for Ellie's fanny pack opening finally, and this has been haunting me since very early concept arts. And I mean, it kind of works. This motion is hopefully going to happen pretty quickly, I guess, in just a couple of frames. So the fact that it holds up kind of well when done super slowly is great. And the solution was extremely simple in the end. I just slapped 2 giant lettuces on there. Go away, Victoria. Oh God, technology. Okay, great. Buttons that don't do anything. Isn't VLC great? Like such a great piece of open source software.
It is.
Hey, it found it. Okay, so yeah, that's fanny pack. And then I also rigged. Wow. Oh, I know why it's so slow. Okay, this is actually my bad because it's downloading the stuff from Dropbox. Okay, sorry. Patience, please. I rigged the ladybug. So that wasn't super complicated, just another forest creature with his little antennas and the wing, fake wings, shield things. And it doesn't have real wings yet. We'll figure out how we're gonna do that later because we just want it to be a motion blur, some kind of ambiguous thing instead of an actual wing. But yeah, ladybug works. And then next, which is also gonna take a while to load. I hope you will fix this with the power of editing.
I would just make an ASMR video of you whispering and then.
It is currently downloading butterfly.mp4. Okay, so I also rigged the butterfly. Nothing interesting again. It's just, you know, it's just stuff that thankfully CloudRig can now handle easily. You just put some bones, press the generate button, and you get a rig like that. It is nice because some of these things are fancy, like it does have the FK hinge for the legs and the eye target parent switching and all that stuff. But yeah, anyways, butterfly, derpy. And finally, okay, the slingshot, not the slingshot tree, the haircut tree that Andy showed earlier now also is rigged with curves. And to get it working, I had to fix some things in CloudRig that took up most of today, but it's fixed and it works. So yeah, my idea is that those green guys will be constrained to the spiders, and then that controls the entire curve. Oh boy! So the green guys will be constrained to the spiders, and those control the entire string with a name constraint. And then the animators can wiggle the center of the thing as much as they want. And if they want to wiggle it more, then we can add more curve points to regenerate the rig, and that's fine. So yeah, that's it for me.
So, well, this week I work on the home run sequence that it's almost finished. So that's cool. I'm going to show you the whole edit because there are shots that are short, so it's better to see it together. So yeah, this first shot got approved already, so it's nice. And the other ones, like this one too, I had some small adjustments of the eyebrows when he opened up the eyes, so I fixed it. This one, I'm missing the facials because we don't have the final audio yet. So when I have it, I will do it, but the body, it's done. And for the last one, the same. I had some notes, small notes on the stretch of the sprite. So yeah, I fixed it too. So yeah, it should be done soon, the whole sequence. So yeah, I think it's cool. And that's my week.
So I'm going through my last week's folder, where I was also still working at the Sprite on the Sprite village set, doing a lot of little adjustments, shuffling some things around, adding some more assets. I don't remember what I did here, but then just going through shot by shot and doing some more adjustments, like adding like stones, getting rid of, like just simplifying it so it's a bit way easier to read. There were like toadstools here that were really distracting, and then I was simplifying it more, leveling the ground, and got rid of the plant over here on the left because we're going to basically add that on a shot basis as a prop. And overall, it's just way more simple. There's also this one where the tree in the background got remodeled and everything got pushed further into the back so that it's not as distracting and like intersecting with the sprites over here. And over here, I started adding small elements. It's like really small on my screen, sorry. But like little drains and like also like other props, like experimenting what we could add that the sprites could be interacting with, which I also did in the first shot, I think. Yeah, where the snail essentially is getting like a little bundle which was in the concept art. Other than that, there was this wall, which I made bigger. I like added these ink caps on it, made some adjustments. And those are basically all the main shots where the sprites are visible. Then for this week, I started with, basically now that Victoria is done, I was able to finally update the cocoon version and fit the spider webs more towards her new proportions. This is not the final hair, but that was kind of irrelevant. I added like a little extra element here, which we can scatter around a bit more, which is pine cones. They're very blurred here, but like I made them kind of roundish. I don't have the file open right now, but they're also going to be later on a more prominent element in the foreground. So we can easily make some variations of those. I pushed the garden over here further into the background, made some little adjustments so it's easier for the animation to actually work with this. And then I was just rendering out real quick, like with whatever I have right now, like what do the shots actually look like where we see the humans? And everything is kind of barren, and it's also not very well lit. But for most of them, we basically just see the bushes that we already have from the other set, and then we just need to add some more some more stuff for the treetops. So that's fine. That shouldn't be too hard to add, and then there's just like a lot of empty area. So I started to add a bit more, like just a temp light and just adding more bushes and more stuff. So it looks a bit more like she's coming out of a thick bush, but I need to get some more feedback on that, how that's actually supposed to feel like. If there's supposed to be a bit of a light on the end of the tunnel where she's coming from. And I'm just adding more stuff to the set, basically just more bushes, and then I'm going to add more of the treetops. I also reorganized the set so it can be more easily used for the animators, and I worked a bit more on demo videos for the upcoming Blender release. And that took away quite a bit of time on my week, but that's basically it.
This week I continue working on the Rextoria. I finished this shot. I had to animate the hair and the earrings and the colors, so that's done. And I kind of work on this shot until the state that it is now. So yeah, that was my week.
This week I set up all the animation files for the scratch sequence and the haircut sequence. So these are all in SVN and ready to animate. Then I was continuing to work on the Blender Kitsu add-on, especially some new tools concerning animation, and as well as some new tools for the sequence editor. So now you can select in your add-on preferences a Playblast root directory, which should point to our Dropbox, and also have an option to tick if you want to open the web browser after you made a Playblast, so it automatically points you to the thing you just uploaded. And once you did that, you can go ahead in your file, select which shot and which sequence am I working on and which task. Like you can now select, is this a lighting file? Is this an animation file? Is this a storyboard file? Whatever. And once you hit animation, the animation tools will pop up. And what is quite nice is the first, like you have this sort of error tab here now that for now only shows you if your frame range is outdated and provides you with a fix button. So if you click it, it will get the frame range for this shot on Kitsu and set it. And you can always set it every time you want. And now I changed the frame range and I reopened the file. And on file load, it will always check the frame range and you can easily fix it. So that's quite nice. And I think it will be probably a recurring error we will have a lot for now when the edit changes and the animators are already working. Right, and then the process of creating a Playblast is quite simple. You select your version, what you want to have, and just hit the Create Playblast button. And what you can do is select the status. What is the Playblast? Is it work in progress? Is it for approval or whatever? These are like all the tasks we have on Kitsu. And then you type in your comment, select OK, and it will calculate a while render the viewport that you have. It makes like an OpenGL render and uploads the file to Kitsu. And at some point in time, the browser will pop up. Ah, there it is. And you will be pointed to your the shot, and there you see you got your comment and your play blast, and it also puts in your login data here on the stamp information of the video of the play blast. And then you can go ahead and make some nice overpaints and comments and look at your play blast on Kitsu. Right. So much to the animation tools. Then I was working on another operator that was a request to basically in the sequence editor be able to pull the whole edit from Kitsu, recreate the whole edit with one click. And the first version is there. You click on the operator, you select which channel you want to have the edit, and then it will create the whole edit basically and use all the frame ranges that are on Kitsu, creates nice colors for each sequence. And there are currently some wrong frame ranges on Kitsu, so there might be some stuff overlapping. So this was an empty file, but it also worked with files that already have stuff there. And the way it's handled now is if there's already a shot that is in the edit, it will not be touched, and just like the stuff around gets added. So if I select here this track, you see all the other stuff gets added, but what is there is left basically. Right. And then what is also cool is like I adjusted some of those operators we have here to be undoable. So you can now initialize a shot, undo it. You can link a shot and be able to undo it. You can unlink and uninitialize shots and then be able to undo it. So it's quite more intuitive and probably save some time. So I could get rid of some confirmation dialogues because you can just undo it. And yeah, I think that's it. And I started to work on the shot builder a little bit to change this into this so that you can select the sequence and the shot separate from each other. But I didn't like, there's still, or other differently said, it's more work than I thought it is. So I'll have to look in what I have to change because I think the system is not really made for having sequences too, like only shots. So yeah, I'm still investigating that. Yeah, but that was my week.
All right, so beginning of the week, I did some more Victoria shading. Some things were left over, like there were some notes on the dress, for example, that it looked a little bit too rubbery. We want to make it more shiny and uncomfortable. And so I just boosted the metallicness and some color variation into it. In general, that we still need to see how that looks in the exact shots to actually judge how well that holds up in the lighting in the forest. And also I painted in some folds on the dress, and we have to see how that behaves in animation, how much we can actually afford that, or how quickly it just looks artificial. And other than that, on the hair as well, I set up the shading system a little bit new so I could paint in the different colors with a map to have more control over it, and mainly to make sure that these bananas in the front still stand out, but it merges all in general a little bit more together, and we have some general variation in the back as well. Unfortunately, the render kernels are still compiling here, but I also just made a little quick thing, which is a small add-on I made in like an hour. The border body, which I thought was a nice thing to have because I kind of wanted to be able to switch between render borders on the fly, because I would do a lot of border selections for my renders to actually just single out specific areas in the rendering, but I want to switch between different versions because I don't want to lose the information of the border. And yep, that's just possible like this. So I'll just upload it in the cloud next week as well. And then I looked into the additional shots in Rex's death sequence where he's covered in snails. So in the beginning, the sprites started slinging snails at him, and in the end, he's fully covered. But in between, we also need some steps to make that kind of convincing, and we wouldn't want to animate all of them. So I went in and added the snails to the additional shots with geometry nodes as well. As you can see here, there are additional snails on there that are just hanging out in the background, and then he's fully covered. And yeah, the challenge with that was mostly to actually make it work with the geometry node system that I had, which was mostly just done for a still shot where Rex wouldn't move too much, to actually make it work in animation, to make it possible that the snails are not flickering around, which was a little bit challenging, but that's working out. It's very slow in playback, but you saw it in the playlist, so it's working. Yeah, and then, oh yeah, right. In general, for lighting, we have a lot of settings that we need to override per shot or per sequence, which we could technically, some of them could technically do with library overrides, which are working quite well for animation already, but they're not working on everything, like shader parameters and that kind of stuff, which we need to tweak in additionally in lighting files as well. And so me and Andy sat together to actually think of a system to have one place to just write all the settings that we need for a specific shot, and then on load it automatically gets applied, and we can just change it, rerun the loading, and it's just more convenient. And additionally to that, we also have settings per sequence, so we could just apply for a whole sequence, like for the whole Rextoria sequence, the same settings if we want to, which just makes it more easy. So here I just have the script that I wrote for that, and then the settings per sequence and the settings per shot. Right now they're not yet applied, but if I run this, and this would also then happen on file load, so it would be automatic and would work for the render farm. It just sets some settings. So these are just random arbitrary settings to test the system, but I made some settings to deactivate individual hats of the sprites in here, but I can also make settings that work for all the sprites. So if I, for example, just copy this override, which just changes the color of that one sprite, into this one, which just happens for all the sprites, and rerun it, it should turn them all blue. There we go. Yeah, this is not the greatest example, of course, but yeah, this is going to work for other properties as well, and it's going to be very useful once we have all these different settings that we need to maintain, and then also be able to just set them for a whole sequence, which is going to save us a lot of copy and paste and maintaining hundreds of overrides, I hope. And yeah, I think that's my week.
I'm super excited to be back in the team. For the ones who doesn't know me, I'm Nacho, and together with Daniela, we just joined as a freelance animator from here, Barcelona. I'm sorry I couldn't make it to the weekly, but by the time you're watching this, I'll be climbing, because, come on, it's 6 on a Friday. I want to be sitting in front of the computer. So, okay, just as a recap of what I've been doing this week, at the beginning of the week, I was working, well, not working really, just like trying to get everything installed, setting up all the files and all the boring stuff. By the second day, I was able to do some facial expressions, like nothing too fancy, just like trying to copy the expressions that are on the library already and playing a little bit with the rigs, which are fantastic, by the way. Thank you, Matt. Then I got assigned a few shots by Rick, who's been helping a lot. Also Pablo, they've both been helping, like Daniela and me, a lot, like in setting up everything and getting the style. And I started a couple of shots from the sequence which is called Scratch, which is in the sequence in which Ellie gets hit. Well, it's running away from the sprites and then he gets hit with a branch. It's called a branch. I don't know what it's called. Yeah, like with a branch or something in the hand. So So you start to realize that, okay, these bastards are dangerous. So I got assigned with 4 shots, which a couple of them I was able to start this week, which is 70 and 80. And well, I will show you because it's more simple. Okay, so that was my week. Yeah, next week I think we'll probably be able to have like a full version, at least a first pass of all the shots, which I'm super excited, and we'll see how it goes. Bye bye.
Hi guys, I'm so sorry because I can't be there in the meeting with you, but I'm gonna explain what I did this week. So I start with Ellie cycle, and then finally I get my first sequence, and I start the blocking of 2 shots, and that's all. Bye, have a nice weekend.
Yeah, thanks a lot to everyone. Super cool. See you all next week, and have a good weekend, everyone.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
weekend.
See you. Bye bye.